Hello, I'm Shirley Lacey and I'm going to provide an overview of ITIL and ISO/IEC 20000. This is the international standard for IT service management. I'm a director at ConnectSphere and I've been heavily involved in the development of ITIL and ISO 20000. I'm a version 3 author and as a project mentor for the ITIL update as well. I represent the UK on the ISO committees for service management and process assessment. Let's take a look at ITIL and ISO 20000. How do they fit together? IT service providers have a crucial role in delivering services and products that enable business improvement. Many service providers adopt best practices and standards to improve their interaction with both their customers and their suppliers to integrate IT service delivery across the supply chain. ITIL forms part of the body of knowledge for service management, and it provides common practices for organisations to apply service management. ITIL focuses on delivering business value as its primary objective. International standards such as ISO/IEC 20000 also form part of the body of knowledge. 20K, as it is often called, provides a formal and universal standard for organisations to have their service management capabilities audited and certified. ISO/IEC 20000 is the first international standard for service management. It's a multi-part series of related documents. Part 1 defines the key features for service management in around 15 pages. Part 2 provides guidance on using Part 1. These parts were published in 2005 and became an ISO bestseller, often referred to as the ITIL standard. The rapid uptake was partly the result of industry recognition that ITIL advice is not a suitable basis for audits and that ITIL itself cannot easily be used to assess how well ITIL has been adopted. ISO/IEC 20000 is also compatible with ISO 9001 and with ISO/IEC 27001, an information security management system standard. 20000 has a core set of requirements linked to management responsibility and continual improvement from the cycle of Plan, Do, Check, Act. This is similar to both 9001 and 27001. Let's look now at how ITIL and 20000 work together. At the top of the pyramid we can see 20000 Part 1. This is the quality standard to be aimed for. It forms part of the certification scheme. Certification audits assess an organisation's working practices against the requirements of Part 1. Other parts of 20000, such as Part 2 and Part 3, explain the requirements. We can also see here ITIL best practices. They provide guidance on how to do service management. People use ITIL to develop their working practices that include policies, processes and procedures and other documents about how to do service management in an organisation. People use ITIL to find opportunities as well for improving their working practices. The rules for standards means that the 20000 series must be usable with a broad base of methods or frameworks, but ITIL is the most common framework to achieve 20000. And there's many case studies to demonstrate this. With the release of ITIL version 3, there's been a shift to service management practices based on the service life cycle, delivering more change faster and a greater focus on management issues. ITIL is now actually closer to ISO 20000 with ITIL version 3. We look now at the 20000 series in more detail. I'll just summarise the recent and future updates to the series. Part 1 and Part 2 cover the requirements for IT service management. The second editions of Part 1 and Part 2 include enhancements to align better with other management system standards and wording that crosses cultural and language barriers to make 20000 truly international. Part 1 is due late 2010 or early 2011. Part 2 comes a year later. Part 3 is guidance on scope definition. Defining what is in and what is not in scope for service management is very important, but also very complex. Scope is affected by supply chains. A customer may also be a service provider. Suppliers may be lead suppliers and be responsible for managing subcontracted suppliers. Then there's the complexity from different customer groups, different services, different locations and different technologies. So Part 3 was published in October 2009. It provides guidance on scope definition and applicability of ISO/IEC 20000 Part 1 for a service provider and advice on conformity assessment. The governance of processes is also explained, and which organisation controls are required for each process, as this is fundamental to scope definition. Realistic scenario-based examples are used to explain the variety of different scopes that are possible. Combined with sensible how to advise, Part 3 is intended to help service providers to use Part 1 to establish service management and quality goals for their organisation. Part 4 is an exemplar implementation plan for ISO 20000. It was published in April 2010. It answers some of the "what should I do" questions that are very common. The plan divides an implementation into 3 stages, followed by consolidation of all the improvements. The plan is based on a consensus about what works in practice, a proven approach. It is useful irrespective of whether an organisation has formal service management or if it is already close to meeting the requirements of 20000, and whether or not there are plans for certification. Part 4 includes useful checklists and example documents such as policies. I'm going to now look at Part 4 and Part 8. These are 2 closely related parts that are being developed to meet the needs of organisations who need a multi-level assessment model, similar to ISO SPICE or Carnegie Mellon's CMMI. The alignment of Part 1 Management System Standard and a multi-level process assessment model will allow organisations to mix and match their assessments based on an integrated set, which is in turn harmonised with other standards, methods and frameworks. 20000 Part 4, Process Reference Model for Service Management, known as a PRM, provides the basis for the process assessment model, ISO/IEC 20000 Part 8. This is known as a PAM. The management system standards are the basis for pass or fail assessments. They are very different in structure, length, approach and philosophy compared to the multi-level and much more detailed PRM and PAM standards. Mapping across the 2 types of standards shows that the Part 1 requirements are equivalent to a mix of Level 2, 3 and 4 process capability, with a small number of requirements equivalent to Level 5. The process assessment model, the PAM, leads from the most basic capability level defined in the PRM, where activities are almost certainly haphazard and high risk, through to Level 5 process capability optimisation. The PAM describes what practices and evidence should be seen during an assessment. Now look at training qualifications. A key contributor to ITIL and 20000's success is the associated education, training and qualification schemes. Delivering services successfully depends on personnel involved in service management. They need to have the appropriate education, training, skills and experience. During an ISO 20000 audit, evidence is sought that the service provider has understood the competencies, awareness and training required to meet current and future needs, and that this is reflected in recruitment, training and awareness for staff. This is quite a challenging requirement in practice. The ITIL and ISO 20000 qualification scheme set the international benchmark of quality for all people within the IT service management profession across the world. Individuals recognise the brands and they feel that their qualifications will be worth the effort. They're very valued. People also recognise the importance of being part of a global community that speaks the same language. Learning about a common approach to IT service management helps individuals to contribute effectively to service management programmes within their organisation. Training needs must be matched to requirements for competence and professional development, and there's a range of options available. We're going to look at the certification schemes now. Formal certification schemes for organisations achieving certification to international standards provide confidence in the level of capability that an organisation has achieved for a specific scope. These schemes require audits to be performed by accredited certification bodies that employ accredited assessors working to internationally agreed standards of quality and service. There are local accreditation bodies, and there are also some special schemes for ISO 20000. These special schemes include the ITSMF UK 20000 certification scheme. This has 40 accredited certification bodies known as registered certified bodies. JIPDEC in Japan also offers conformity assessment schemes for an IT service management system called the ITSMS for 20k, and also information security management system, the ISMS, and this is for 27001. So looking at both ITIL and 20000 working together, during any improvement journey it helps to have a clear vision, requirements and an achievable implementation plan. Success is more likely if we check progress at key milestones and adjust the plans accordingly. Using both ITIL and 20000 helps us to get the practices working together, and their adoption helps individuals and organisations to have the confidence for action. By adopting standards that are proven to work, service providers can more easily deliver services consistently to the agreed service levels efficiently and effectively. World-class service providers and their customers can benefit from an integrated set of best practice standards that evolve to meet market needs. They benefit from international qualification and certification schemes. Simplification, standardisation and common terminology across the organisations is also of a great benefit. Competitive advantage through improved service performance is a key aspect. And value creation is also important by delivering business outcomes at the right cost. Minimal disruption through effective change and risk management is also very important to many organisations today. Further information is available at bestmanagementpractice.com.